crisis has its tipping point. A chaotic culmination of every single problem in one moment. When the density of issues becomes so overwhelming, it is just bound to explode.
Guys, what the fuck? What the fuck? What the actual fuck? What the actual fuck?
On the 4th of August 2020, the country of Lebanon hit rock bottom. 3 years later, the wreckage of the silo in Beirut's harbour still acts as a symbol for decades of mismanagement, corruption, greed, and conflict. But rather than the people, it is the politicians who are to blame. Cause 30 years after the last civil war, they have spectacularly failed to restore the country, or at least provide basic services. Instead, they rob their own citizens. Many of which will tell you that this time around it's even worse than the civil war. The Middle East might be the most complicated place on earth, and Lebanon is the most complicated place in the Middle East. I confess, I do not understand the situation fully. And how could I? At times it even seems to me that it is actually impossible to really understand the Lebanon problem. Or maybe there is simply nothing to be understood. A Lebanese might agree, smile with melancholic eyes, and say that he or she doesn't understand it either. But there is someone I would trust to one day understand. Someone who was privileged to observe the Lebanon problem from the outside for most of his life. Someone who is the result of the Lebanese diaspora, forever confronted with his origin. Someone who would give up this privileged life to be part of the solution. Someone I went to primary school with.
Hallo, ich bin der Michael. Ich komme aus Enfield in der Früh, wohne in der Coincidentally 3. Ich bin David Split.
That bastard always made fun of me. Once when we were like 7 years old, he promised me 1,000 fucking Mickey Mouse magazines if I kissed a certain girl in class. I did it, got a proper slap, and returned to collect my reward, but of course he never had any fucking Mickey Mouse magazines. That Lebanese liar tricked me again and again, throughout primary school and into middle school. And I thought I had finally escaped him when he had to repeat class in the first year, but the same shit happened to me 2 years later. And there we were, together again. Only this time we actually became friends.
Ja, Michi. Viel Spaß da heute. Ja, ich auch.
Michi gegen Pferde, Runde 1.
Exactly why, I do not recall. Probably because he wasn't the same asshole anymore. Michel Jabour, the son of a Lebanese father and an Austrian mother, has always been drawn back to his home. During long walks or late hours in the only bar in town, he used to update me on the frustrating situation of Lebanon for about a decade. What he said was interesting, yet so far away from my own world, I could hardly grasp the extent. But it was obvious his heart was aching in the prospect of not being able to do anything about it. I always knew that he was gonna end up in Lebanon. I just didn't think that I would be there as well.
Very nice. I like here.
I will put this into my pants.
And that is even before he drank the coffee.
Along for the ride was another special someone, Magdalena. I met her while studying journalism in Vienna, and then we spent COVID together in Cyprus and started shooting videos at some point. Rarely have I ever met a girl that's just up for anything like she is.
It's gonna be my new nose ring.
Without prejudice, but with a big, big heart. And some essential knowledge on how to operate a camera that requires more skill than a GoPro, she was just a perfect match to complete our quirky trio. To say the 2 weeks we spent in Lebanon were intense would be an understatement. What the fuck is this?
10. Wow. It's a very weird country.
To be honest, I'm still trying to comprehend what happened. We arrived at 2 AM in the morning and the whole city of Beirut was pitch black. Not a single street light was on and the center seemed deserted. The crisis was apparent from the very start. But this is not a story about how Lebanon fails. Quite the opposite. It's about how the Lebanese have become resilient in the face of crisis. How despite everything, this mega diverse country smaller than Tyrol or I don't know, a third as big as fucking Maryland is reinventing life every day. And our guide is going to be none other than Michael Shabour himself.
Hello.
Willkommen im Libanon.
Cause you know, he knows the history of Lebanon inside out.
Libanon. Zwischen Orient und Westen, das heißt, um das Land zu verstehen, ist sehr kompliziert.
But even he went way outside of his comfort zone on this trip. When the silo exploded on that fateful day in 2020, the house of Michael's relatives was first in line to get hit. Not much stood between them and death. But luck was on their side that day and they survived thanks to no more than a bathroom door.
Da drinnen war eine Tür, sie sind durch die Druckwelle. Sie waren praktisch zur Zeit der Explosion da drinnen. Wie die Druckwelle gekommen ist, sind sie auf der Tür gelandet. Wenn die Tür nicht gewesen wäre, hätten sie es da wahrscheinlich. Es war alles um 18:08 Uhr.
It's not a place that Michael likes to return to.
Da ist der Nachbar gestorben.
And understandably so. I mean, very little has remained of the family home it once was. But the question remains, what or who caused all this? Yeah, sure, the explosion, duh. But what caused the explosion? Simple answer, 2,750 tons of ammonium nitrate that had been stored in the port since 2013. What set the explosion off? Well, the highly explosive chemical had been stored right next to jugs of oil, kerosene and 15 tons of fireworks. If that isn't a recipe for fucking disaster, I don't know what is. Why was it there in the first place? Because of a shipment that was ordered by some factory from Mozambique that never paid for it. Instead, it ended up in Beirut because the captain was called to pick up some additional shit and the ship was leaking too. In the end, it was abandoned by both the owner and captain, which left it in the hands of the Lebanese authorities, who, fearing the ship might sink, brought the highly explosive cargo to Hangar 12, a warehouse designed for hazardous materials. This is the fucking worst story I've ever heard. This atomic bomb was lying dormant next to vibrant neighborhoods, popular nightclubs and the biggest highway in the country. No, it wasn't really an atomic bomb, but it might as well have been. Because it turns out this was among the biggest non-nuclear explosions in the history of humanity. It shook the whole country and could be heard as far as Cyprus, which is more than 250 kilometers away. Entire neighborhoods were in ruins, like Mar Michael, where we lived during our stay, and Karantina, where Michael's relatives used to live. And if these scenes aren't enough to give you an idea of the scale of destruction, the explosion left 300,000 people homeless, 7,000 injured, 200 dead, and caused $10 to $15 billion of damage. That on top of fucking COVID and an already severe economic crisis. But just when you think things can't get any worse, something truly remarkable happened. People took to the streets. Thousands of volunteers mobilized to tidy up the mess and started rebuilding. out of sheer compassion and solidarity for the victims. Nobody had asked anyone to do anything, but catastrophes just seem to have this weird way of bringing people together when it really matters most. And if it wasn't for the civilians, who else? The government, you say? Well, you haven't been to Lebanon yet, have you? The government did nothing. Nada, niente. Even dogs helped more than the fucking Lebanese government.
Lebanon counts on you. Don't let it down.
And it gets even more perverse. Dozens of Lebanese officials actually knew about the ammonium nitrate.
Thus, aggravating the crisis has beset our nation.
They knew it was bound to explode at some point. They knew it wasn't safe to store like that. They knew it all along. It was basically corruption exploding into the face of the Lebanese people. And even before the explosion, public institutions and ministries had lost all trust from the Lebanese citizens.
ما زلتم جميعا تتكبرون وتتجبرون وترفضون الاستماع إلى صوت الشعب.
As they proved again and again, they were no more than centers for the plundering of funds and under-the-table deals. In their absence, NGOs flourished. There's no word the Lebanese likes more than non-governmental. When push came to shove, there were a plethora of them organizing the whole rebuilding process. And they're still doing it now, 3 years later.
Thank you.
So, you've seen how Michael's relative's house looks like these days, but what you haven't seen is how the rest of the neighborhood looks like. In some places, even better than before. Responsible for this unwanted home makeover are, you guessed it, volunteers. In this case, the volunteers of an NGO called Offre Joie. After the blast, those guys set up an emergency program in practically no time with the purpose to rebuild the most affected neighborhoods. A mysterious volunteer with the enchanting name Manon was supposed to show us the incredible work that has been done, but instead we found ourselves on a little scavenger hunt.
Ziemlich random.
Through the hood.
Oder weißt du, wo wir hingehen? Soll ich mal anrufen?
First we went to a random, completely wrong house.
Nobody's coming.
Then, after disregarding that meeting place,
Na, hier ist nix.
we gave up and got ourselves some coffee. But by accident we found the actual headquarters. But it turned out nobody even knew anyone called Manon.
He's supposed to know.
Manon doesn't exist.
How does it feel to be stood up at your first interview?
Can't talk to ghosts, I guess. Or can you?
So, like patients in the waiting room, we sat down and made good use of our time by teaching my amateur musician ass how to whistle.
Du musst einfach nur Spannung in deinen Lippen haben und rausblasen.
Und die Zunge unten liegen.
Die Zunge einfach unten relaxed liegen lassen. Mhm.
This guy turned up, who turned out to be the third DJ we met in under 24 hours, but at last the call came.
15 minutes? Okay. 15 Lebanese minutes or 15 European minutes?
Now, with the service of the mysterious Manon, we were finally off to explore the new face of Karantina, the neighborhood closest to the port.
Especially in a country like Lebanon, where everything is so unstable.
Right.
How long did it take you to rebuild the whole?
Depends on each buildings. There were buildings we finished around 1 month after the blast because it was very intensive work.
Wow.
And we have buildings we're still working on.
So
Because we have less and less volunteers. You know, people don't have the luxury anymore to work without like being paid. And
like who are the volunteers anyway? Are they Lebanese? Are they like from Europe or European?
We have a lot of European volunteers right now who come like for a few months in a row.
And some of them stay forever.
Next volunteer, guys.
Are you from France?
Yes,
All right.
Paris. I live in Beirut since 3 years now.
Wow.
And he helped us a lot after
for the explosion. And I work with Offre-Joie. And I stay in Beirut.
But they don't have any clue about how to build houses, right? So who is telling them? So
that's what we need. That's why we need quantity. So we had a team of engineers.
From a random balcony, we received an invitation to look at the building slowly coming back to life.
Oh, there's so many things. It's so complex. Oh wow. Because from outside it seems like it's almost finished.
Yeah.
But inside it's a different story. Nobody here? Is this blood? It actually seems like it's blood. Fucking hell.
Blood isn't the only sign left that tells of the incident. Then we finally found someone who's actually working.
It says basically that everything inside is out of iron, steel, metal.
Wow. It seems like it.
Malha. It used to be kind of like a nightclub or bar.
Oh, really? Ah,
like
okay,
a bar.
And is this going to be a living space after?
The owner might turn it into like a residency building. They have changed a lot of things inside of the building.
Oh wow.
Like if we had seen the building before they started working, we wouldn't have believed it was terrifying.
It's incredible how fast they've done it.
Yeah.
In the face of the crisis, and the NGOs have to do everything. Is there no money from the government? And is that why the NGOs do everything?
Yeah, that's why there's so many NGOs in Lebanon. Thank God, associative life is very active in Lebanon. Because without NGOs, Lebanon would be in a worse situation.
And it's all donated by Europeans, is it? Or is it also the Lebanese diaspora that's
No,
donating?
it's a lot the Lebanese diaspora that sends money.
That goes to show you how instrumental NGOs are in Lebanon society. In a country where corrupt politicians don't bother to move their lazy asses, the NGOs are employing, working, planning, funneling all donations directly into actual action. Serving in crisis is their speciality, and in fact, Offre-Joie was born out of crisis too.
It was founded in 1985. So 5 years before the end of the Civil War, and 5 guys and friends from the Red Cross thought like kids have nothing to do with the war and the division it's creating. So let's do summer camps with people from different communities, different social backgrounds, and put them together, and that's how it started. We're trying not to mix at all. It's really not confessional, not political. We're really very picky on this topic, and our biggest evidence is that we rebuild like a church and a mosque. The guy who takes care of the church is the son of a guy who has a mini market here, so we.
Okay.
But he told me.
But we've been to the mini market, or?
He told me he's probably sleeping now. He's having a nap. Okay, here I have to show you a picture. It was completely destroyed, and now it's beautiful inside out. But it's closed.
كنيسة السيدة بالكارانتينا شهدت على كذا حرب وكذا مرة رجعت ترممت. هلا رجع اجى الانفجار دمرها بالكامل، دمر السقوفية، دمر الحيطان.
They actually managed to rebuild the entire church just in time for Christmas 2020. But most of the time, waiting is common practice in Lebanon. And we had to wait for that church guy to open the heavenly gates, which we did by eating ice cream. Then we got to ask the mysterious Manon if she ever went abroad to escape waiting for better times.
Yeah. To study in France.
Yeah, really? Okay,
Yeah.
okay. Yeah.
To have more opportunities.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's maybe better in terms of networking too.
And your whole family is here?
Yeah, because during the civil war, like when the war started, my father was 10 years old, and his siblings were younger, so they all went to Paris. They lived there until the end of the war, like for 15 years. And some came back, like my father. Actually, he was the only one, and his 4 brothers and sisters stayed
okay.
around Europe.
Yeah, but you were born here then?
I was, yeah.
Yeah, okay, okay. Shit, like, yeah, I would come back as well. I mean, you can't. It's not the same mentality. If you have it in you, like, you don't feel it probably if you go to Europe.
Hey, people are so warm and chill. It's a very different lifestyle.
Church guy seemed to have the longest and best nap of his life, so in the meantime we went around to discover the hood.
So this neighborhood is called Karantina. And I guess this is the central place, and over there is just like a gas mask. Let's ask them why it's called Karantina.
Karantina used to be like a place whenever you had like people coming from abroad, especially during the French Mandate. Karantina was the place to make sure that people don't have any illnesses or any transmissible sicknesses. So people used to stay here. Just stop filming now.
Well, suddenly army vehicles surrounded us. No single thing worries Michael more than being caught filming an army base.
Make sure not to film any army person.
Okay, can we start filming again now? Please?
شكرا.
أهلا وسهلا.
بحملة.
Yeah, you will pick it again. You try to better than I did.
He's like basically from this neighborhood and he has been living here for 30 years.
Oh wow, so you lived here before the explosion as well?
كنت عايش هون يعني قبل الانفجار. Yes, yes. It was terrifying.
Were you outside or inside?
كنت جوا. He was
كان محل مش بهذا الشارع الثاني كان محل.
Okay, so he had another barber shop and another street, and he was during the explosions he was cutting the hair.
كنت عم قص لزبونات. طلع اول شيء اول انفجار ظهرنا لبرا عم نشوف شفيق سمعنا صوت طيران كثير قوي تقريبا بين اول انفجار وثاني انفجار 20 ثانيه.
So basically when he was cutting the hair, they heard like the first explosion, and they also heard huge plane noises. Planes passing by, and then like within 20 seconds they came like there was the second huge blast. And everyone is saying that they were actually like hearing or could listen like planes.
أنا قلت يعني البناية اللي حد نزلت من قوة الصوت بناية حد نزلت.
And he thought once he like heard the explosion, he thought that the building was just close or next to his former barbershop that it went down.
وبعدين
everyone thought it was our.
بعدين يعني ظهرنا لبرا يعني من العصف طرنا لنا شو 20 متر بالشاب وخبطنا بالحيطان.
Yeah, so basically when they went outside, like the wave was so strong that they got like almost like pushed to the wall. There was like dust all over the place.
And glass probably.
ايه وبعدين ثواني قمنا من الصدمة بتشوف غبرة كتير وعالم عم بتصرخ وعالم تركض هيك وعالم تركض هيك.
So basically after the explosion, after they realized this shock, there were like people running all over the place. People heard. It was like really terrifying situation. Some people also like were injured by like glass. They had some glass in their face.
But he didn't have anything.
أنت جروحك كمان؟ Yeah, he was also. Everyone got hurt. He had like he couldn't sleep for like 3 months because of the shock.
Oh wow.
حتى اجوا لهون ناس علاج نفسي.
And there has also people, there have also been like experts coming, like psychotherapists talking to them to give them like some mental support.
Okay. How does it feel now talking about it?
إذا هلا عم تحكي عن هذا الموضوع عن هاي الأزمة.
أنا ما بحب أحكي عنه.
He actually doesn't like to talk about it.
Because
then he remembers this stressful period, so it's not like.
Okay. At last the church guy that turned out to be just the guy in charge of parking awoke from his 3-hour nap and opened the shiny gates to the most resilient church in Beirut. And while we were goofing around, the parking guy actually started talking about his explosion story all by himself.
The moment of the explosion he was in this quarter close to his house.
But did he live here in this neighborhood all of his life?
Yeah, he's been living. He's born here.
He's born here. Wow, really a real native.
Yeah, he knows everyone 100%.
Has he lost people, friends, like during the explosion?
أكيد قعدنا ناس
Yeah, he lost very dear friends, very dear persons.
How many died?
Now,
in this area there were like 12 people that died.
Okay.
At the 4th of September 2021, he moved back to the neighborhood.
Okay.
Yeah, he was like outside of the neighborhood for like 1 year. They came without any belongings, without any like furniture, without any.
So all of his belongings were gone.
يعني كل أغراضه راحت بالانفجار.
شتات عدالة غير صاروا على الطريق. تبعوا ثيابنا.
What does he feel like about Lebanon, like after the explosion, how it's developed?
He's saying like the moment he was born until the explosion, Lebanon was fine, he had a good life. But the moment the explosion happened, it was the worst. And what you're living right now is like the worst period.
ما 61 سنة عمري.
Yeah, he's lived through it all. Since even the civil war was not as bad.
لا.
No, it was not like that as bad.
Wow, okay. That's something.
لأنه كنا عايشين حياة حلوة، كان في مصاري، كان في بركة، ما كان في دولار، ما كان في مقطوع، ما كان في دواء، ما في كله في كان.
شكرا لك.
اوكي. أهلا وسهلا فيكم.
Das hat mich jetzt fertig gemacht. This just shook me like that. He said that even the civil war wasn't as bad as whatever they're experiencing now. I didn't expect that. Will you go back to France, or is this now your spiritual home?
I have no idea. You know, mostly only by these people I have what we call the Stockholm syndrome. You know, we love the country, but we're blocked here, and it's everything is so complicated. I think you have noticed this.
Yeah.
I try my best to stay in Lebanon to contribute to the economy of the country and stuff.
Yeah.
If I have no other option than going abroad to work, that's what I would do.
Yeah. Where do you think the country is going in the next 2 years?
Actually, I might sound very optimistic, but I think it's getting, maybe not to say better, I will say
less complicated.
Less complicated, exactly. To be more.
He's optimistic as well, I think.
Huh?
Are you optimistic?
Look, I'm optimistic concerning the younger generation, that they have changed their mindset a lot and that they want to live in a prosperous country, and they to a large extent got over this confessionalist thinking, and also got over the ancient fears or these divisions caused by the civil war.
Yeah.
But I think it's a process that will take a lot of time to convince other parts of the population that we should like build on something new, but that takes years.
Yeah,
I think it's not like a change that will happen.
Yeah, we'll have to be patient.
You have to be patient and hope, and also offer like a credible alternative.
Yeah.
But the mindset is actually changing, and the revolution that has started on the 17th October 2019 has shown
Oh, shit. I completely forgot about the revolution. Well, do you want to know what happens when the young and educated turn on their bullshit detectors and call the government out? Well, I guess you gotta tune in next week when Michael explains us how to make Lebanese coffee.
Im Libanon geht's gut, oder?
Ja, alles okay. Im Libanon geht's gut oder dem Kaffee?
That's all, folks. See ya.
Fingers crossed there will be a president, actually, because like...
I'll be president.
You'll be president, alright. So what's your first thing you would do as a president?
A lot of things.
A lot of things.
Sugar.